7:25 a.m. in Ahmed, Bali. Listen to the sounds of this nature and check this. So this is me. I'm in this backyard in this Airbnb that we booked. It's like a guest house. It's a little different than the guest houses that we're used to in Ubud, but very interesting. So I'm here. Andrew's still sleeping, and I just decided to come here and do a video. Just so many thoughts were like buzzing in my brain while diving, walking around yesterday, driving, eating, and I wanted a chance to make this video, but my phone was dying. So I was just thinking about this process, everything that I've been working on with my website, with my book, my brand, all the different things, the hobbies that I've been trying, all the different stuff that I worked on in the past, all of my unfinished projects. Like, there's so many things that I started. Hold on, I'm gonna put this on the stand. There's so many things that I started and didn't finish, and if you know me well, you'll see that every week, every other day, I have like something else that I'm interested in, I become really obsessed with, and then after I become obsessed with it, I get to know it really well, and I'm on to the next thing. And it's a little annoying when it comes to like building, or it has been in the past like annoying when it comes to building things, because it's like, I can't really feel set on what I want to do that is set business. Like, I feel like, okay, I become really obsessed with pole dancing, but I can't become so obsessed with, I can't consistently stay obsessed with pole dancing enough to make it to making that my business or my job or whatever. I can't. I become obsessed with, it's funny, I become, I got my real estate license, and I became obsessed with learning everything there is to know about being a real estate agent. And I did that obsessively, took all the training classes, did all the stuff, did all the door knocking, and, all the phone calling, cold calling, all the things, the open houses, and I really, really went into real estate. But I became burned out on it, and I became too bored. I just knew it too well. I knew the process too well. And the thing is that knowing the process isn't enough for anything to be successful. You have to be consistent, you have to spend time in it, you have to sort of keep doing it and let it grow. You don't just learn a skill and then make money from it on the spot, but you kind of have to, you don't have a business and the business pays you money. A lot of people that go from having a job to starting a business, they'll treat the business like a job. So the job, you start working today and you're on the clock for getting paid right away. Like, you start working and someone pays you right away. With the business, it's not really how that works, because you can't control who's paying you. People have to come to you. You can't go to people and say, buy my thing today and give me money today. You can't force people to buy your thing. As a worker, it's very different. So, it's a totally different mentality as a business. You have to actually just do the thing until you make money consistently, and not really think about when the money will come. As a business owner or entrepreneur, or even as a real estate agent. I mean, especially as a real estate agent, because that is your own business. So, there's just so much of this where I'll get really into something. I'm like, okay, this is the thing that I will focus on. This is the thing that I'll make my long-term income on. And then I'm just burnt out on it. I just don't feel like doing it anymore. And so this has been something that I, in the past, like with jobs, and this is why I became hyper obsessed with saving and investing my money, because I can't be sure when the next thing will come that I'll be interested in to want to stay in long enough to make it a consistent living. So that's why I became really obsessed with like saving, having multiple bank accounts, credit cards, investment accounts, and with the jobs as well. Even as a employee, I would like get a job. I'd become really, really into it. I'd do it consistently, but then I'd find flaws in it, and I'd find dead ends in the job, and I would, after getting to know the job really well, I would become, but like it would become not exciting for me anymore, and not even exciting. It would become too small for me, and it would become something that I just didn't see a future in anymore, because it was not like it's like I would see the flaws in the company. I would see that they're probably not going to last very long. A lot of media outlets don't last very long. They're like restaurants, they kind of go out of business very fast. And so as a writer, I would like not only be concerned with my own job, but I would want to get to know everything about the company, and I would become like, get to know all the people there, and I was very thorough. And then, so I would get to know the whole place, and I'd be like, either I don't see this as becoming very profitable, or the company is lasting very long, or I don't see myself as growing particularly significantly in this place, and then I would lose interest because of that. So I had a meeting with my friend this past week who studies astrology. She's studied it for almost 10 years. She knows it really well. And she did my birth chart, where she takes your birthday. It's like, I think it's Vedic astrology. She takes your birthday and the time and location of your birth, and then she like puts it in a chart, and based on the alignment of like the different planets at that time that you were born, there's like the different predictions that they make about the trajectory of your life, or like it's predictions and interpretations. That's what it is. So based on that, like it's like predictions, interpretations are like the different significant periods of your life, and how you're gonna be like, and your personality, what you're gonna be, what you're gonna choose to do, your trajectory of your life. I don't know if I'm making sense, but anyways, I did this. My friend did it for me, which was extremely valuable. I sat with her, and she like went through my birth chart. She said, and I was like, it was actually amazing. It was spot on, uncanny. She was like, oh, on this date, did this happen on this date, whatever? And I was like, oh my god, yeah. How did you know that? Like, that's crazy. Or is your family like this? Are you like this? And like things that I haven't shared in my vlog, she knew, which was very cool. And so I was like, oh my god, like I want to study astrology, because this is so cool. She can predict certain things, certain outcomes and behaviors that I never even knew was predictable. So I said, do you think that I should start to study astrology also, and get, maybe that's the thing that will stick? And she said, actually, you can, and you'll get to know it really well, but it's probably not going to be something you'll want to stick with, because you're going to want to, like, once you get to know it really well, you're going to want to move on to the next thing, and that's good. And it was really validating, actually, for someone to say that's okay, like you're like this. And actually all these things that you like got really into and then just sort of left and then like went on to the next thing, those were pieces of a puzzle that was a really big puzzle. And the thing is that lately I do know what that puzzle is. I know why all of those little puzzle pieces are actually starting to make sense. It makes sense to me why I got really into dance, piano, learning so many different languages. It makes sense to me why I wanted to live in different, all these different countries. There's a little cat that's meowing at me. So it makes sense, because I have an actual outlet for it now. I have a business that I'm creating that uses all of these things. And even if I were to get sick of one thing and another, and I'll share you guys with what it is. I hope I'm not being too cryptic, but it actually makes sense to use all of these different puzzle pieces now and put them into this plan, which is my business, which it's like developing, it's like a thought process almost, that when you hear the little bits and pieces of it in the beginning, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to use an analogy, or I'm going to use some examples. Like, let's say you, and what I'm trying to say here is how important the process is letting yourself go through these different puzzle pieces and not stopping yourself along the way, not saying, oh, like, you're a failure, you're quitting each time you're quitting. Allowing yourself to go through the different phases with no judgment and with like a ton of compassion and love, and like letting yourself follow your instincts through these different phases. So let's say you were going to create a very, very original business. Let's see. Let's say you wanted to create like a very original. Okay, I'll tell you an example. Nomad. My friend Zach Milburn, he created this business called Nomad. Nomad was because I remember, like, I met Zach in the middle of his trajectory of building Nomad, and when I met him, it wasn't a full-blown, it wasn't like how it is now. It wasn't as successful and big. I mean, it was pre-revenue. So Nomad is right now, it's like a global community / hostel like village system. So it's kind of like Seleh. Seleh is like a global hostel community thing where you pay a monthly subscription and you have access to their hotels and their networks, and you get to and we actually did it for a little bit, me and Andrew, for a few months. The thing is, we stopped doing it because Seleh is so profitable and so many people want to be part of Seleh that they charge so much now, and they like their rates are so much more expensive than anywhere else, than just any Airbnb or hotel or rentals. So we just stopped doing it because we wanted to save money. But as you can see, like, this is such a profitable thing, such a profitable idea to have like a hotel community where, you know, people pay a monthly subscription and they get to live at any of your locations all over the world. They're basically fully taken care of, all these things. So Nomad is kind of like that Zach Milburn's thing. But when I met Zach, it was just a group of friends traveling around together, and it wasn't profitable. He wasn't making money from it. In fact, he was losing money because he just kept taking his friends around on trips with him. And like, you know, so this is like someone's vision coming to light. But when you look at it in the pre-revenue stage, when you look at it in the stage of not even pre-revenue, pre-concept. Like, he doesn't really know where this is going, and he's just sort of following his instinct. I like what he likes to do. I like to do this thing. I like to travel around with my friends. We have a chat and we all chat together, and I like to do this, like, basically like travel buddies. You might just say, this is such a joke, get a real job. You might, before seeing the outcome of it, you might become impatient. Or if you're the person, you might tell someone like that, or you might tell yourself, if you're him, he might have told himself, this is a joke, like, get a real job, Zach. He might have told himself this, like, Zach, just get a real job. This is not making you any money. You don't even know where this is going. All you're doing is moving from one country to another, because another thing was, like, when he first started, which I didn't even know him back then, but when he first started traveling, he would keep moving from one country to another, and people would tell him, what are you doing? Like, I thought you said you liked this country, now you're moving to another country? I thought you said you liked that country, now you're going to another country? So he was just traveling from one country to another. And the thing is, a lot of people, when they hear these negative voices, the doubts in their head or from the mouth of other people, they stop, because they say, oh, you're right, like, this is crazy. I said that I like this country, but now I'm bored of it. Now I want to move to another country, and so I just have to stop. So then they'll cut their dream short, they'll cut their life short, because it's like, well, I didn't even know where this was going anyway, so what was I doing it for? They'll cut the dream before it was even able to blossom, because a lot of times you don't know what your dream is to begin with. It takes the traveling around and playing around and moving around to even develop the dream, to even say that you want the dream. It's much easier to convince yourself and other people to let you pursue a dream when you know exactly what it is. But actually, half the battle or more of the battle is developing the dream in the first place, developing the concept in the first place. If you knew exactly what it was, and it was just a matter of going after it, it would be so relatively easy, because you just know exactly what you need to do, and you just go and move on to the next step. It's much harder to move on to the next step when you don't know what the next step is, and you have to create it, you have to develop it, you have to figure it out. And the way that you develop it and figure it out is by letting your mind play, listening to your body, listening to your instincts, listening to what your body feels like doing, not even like has to do or needs to do, just following that, like, intuition. I feel like doing this next thing. I feel playing, basically, and being a child. Everyone should do this, but people only let children do this, which is why I say being a child, because people only let children do this because children are being taken care of by somebody else. Adults are not. So when you're an adult, you have, like, a limited budget. You have limited, like, resources to be able to just play around. Which is why I wrote House Hackers Anonymous, because that's my personal plan, how I can play around, how I do this. But as an adult, it's really, really hard to come up with a dream or a vision if you are not, able to just financially let go and do it, because most adults are in survival mode, like 24/7. You're not growing anything in survival mode. Survival mode is like just surviving. You're not growing anything. You're not bringing life into the world. It's impossible to get pregnant, because I know I'm trying to get pregnant now. It's impossible to get pregnant in survival mode. You're not building a business in survival mode. You can build the business mechanically, like one step to the next. And, House Hackers Anonymous is like that too. How to get to that point while you're in survival mode, because there are a lot of things you can do while you're in survival mode. You can follow one step to the next. If someone lays out a plan for you, like if I lay out a plan for you, which I do in my book, like, okay, do this now, do this now, do this, you can do certain things that are very profitable, and you can follow the plan exactly, step by step by step. But you can't have an inspiration or a vision to develop an idea yourself. It's really, really hard to do that in survival mode. So, which is why I say with House Hackers Anonymous, the goal, it's not to get you to be very rich, or, I mean, you can make a lot of money as a house hacker, and by reading my book you can make a lot, but like the goal is to get you to the place where you're able to relax and play and come up with the ideas yourself. Whether that's to play by traveling the world, or wandering in your mind, allowing your body to relax. For a lot of people, it just means allowing their body to relax so that the ideas come to them. For some people, it's like being able to not take life so seriously. So, like, you know, there's just so much you can do. There's so many ways. Just think about all the ways that you've spent money. Every single way that you've ever spent money. Every single way that anyone you know has ever spent money. Every single way that you have ever heard anyone spending money. Like, those are all the ways to make money. I mean, people are making money off of that. And the more you travel, the more you move around in different markets, the more you see. It's actually easier when you move around to different markets than the ones that you're used to, because you're able to see the ways that people are making money that are different than you, where who you are and your skills and stuff might be in higher demand because you're not from that market. So I'm trying to think of like what that would mean in practical terms. I mean, I'm just going to use a stupid example. So, learning English. So everyone in your market, let's say, because most of the people that watch my video are in, like, an American market. Most of the people in your market speak English. So let's say you move to a country where English is not widely spoken. It would be easy to just go and teach English at an English speaking school because you speak English perfectly. I'm just using that as an example, like language, but it goes much more beyond language. But let's say you go to like Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan, there's like only a handful of English speakers in that area, in that neighborhood that you're living in. So it would be very easy for you to set up like an English teaching school because you speak English. But you also speak English in your hometown, but nobody needs you because they already speak it. Everybody speaks it. You're not special in your hometown, in your market. With dating, you might date people in your hometown, and in your hometown you might be like a 4 or a 5 or a 6, because everybody looks like you and you don't look special. But if you transport yourself, whatever, to a different market where people don't look like you, then all of a sudden you look special. You're like a 9 or a 10 because you look different. And so just using those as examples. Traveling makes everything so much easier. Changing paradigms makes everything so much easier. Removing yourself from the lens of one community and putting yourself in the lens of another community can bring the inspiration about in so many ways. So movement does this faster. Movement does it very fast and quick, and movement makes the ideas come to light faster. and it helps you understand yourself better, see the things that you like and don't like. And it's really important to validate these things, the things that you like and don't like. First of all, don't bother being around. So for me, I spent a long time thinking or caring about the opinions of other people. Don't waste your time. It's impossible not to care, because if you're like me, you're an empath, you're gonna care. So you can't say don't care about what other people think if you're like me. So I would say don't waste time in those places where those people are that think the things that don't serve you. People think things like, stop being so needy, stop being wanting everything, stop being so greedy, needy, whatever, these words, gluttonous, so sensitive. Just don't be around those people, because just look at those people's lives. They're probably very poor. They probably have very small lives. They're probably not very healthy, because it's really important for your health to be able to validate your feelings, your need, as you feel things and express them, to let it out. They're probably very limited. So you don't have to be in those places. You don't have to be around those people, because it doesn't serve you. And you're you. Your responsibility is to you, to your purpose in life. If people are not helping you serve your purpose, you're not useful to them. You're probably not helping them serve their purpose. Why are you wasting your time in environments that don't help you serve your purpose? The way that you're going to find your purpose is by listening to what your body wants, what your subconscious, your emotions, your deep down, what is your soul wanting. And if you're just clogged up with the wants and the needs and opinions of other people all day, it's going to be really hard to know what that is. It's going to be really hard to even listen to what your inner self is trying to tell you about what it wants and things it wants to try. And just think of any cool business that you know, any very profitable business. I mean, just think of what's a profitable business? Google. I don't know the first thing about the person who started Google, but it likely right now, the way that Google is now, that it's making so much money, whoever started it probably had no idea that it would even look like this. They probably didn't even have the concept of this. Shoot. Shoop, shoop. Go wave. Alright, this cat. Shoot, cat. No, I don't have any food. Go away. I think I'm scared of cats. I never know. Some of the cats here get a little extra. One thing that has been bothering me a lot lately is sounds. All the sounds of the roosters and birds and the motorcycles, motorbikes, whatever. These sounds have been sort of driving me crazy. So it's they're very distracting, but also they kind of make me nervous. They shake up my nervous system. So hello. Was this your kitty? Little kitty. Just wants to sit next to me. He just wants to sit here, sit next to me. Hey, what did you just see? What did you just see? This cat just wants to sit next to me. Just don't, like, attack me thing. So yeah, I just am very easily distracted with there's just so many, like, sounds outside, and Ubud it's like this even worse. In Ubud it's even worse than this, like birds, roosters screaming like crazy. And honestly, like, the things that I didn't like that I cut out in the past, I'm really glad that I did. I'm really glad that I, like, every community that I exited, every like country that I left from, every single place that we basically just got up and moved on to the next, ended up being really good. Like, it ended up being the best thing ever. Like, oh, should have done this faster, sooner. You know what I mean? And I think that people will find that too, but it's like most people never even get themselves to this first step of listening to themselves. They just basically build a whole life and a whole identity around something that's not them to begin with, because they won't even let themselves get to the first point. So I don't know if I'm making sense. Anyways, there's so many sounds here and so many distractions. So I'm gonna put this little kitty and then say goodbye. Say goodbye, kitty. Say goodbye, kitty.